After going through this video, you will be able to explain and define a function, explain the parts of a function, explain the execution of a function. Functions in PHP are very important as they allow the developers to use a block of code repeatedly in a program and it performs a specific task. To understand more about functions in detail, let us first look at an example of how a function looks like. This will help us to build a solid understanding of what functions are and how they are defined. Here, this entire piece of code is a function that performs a specific task and has a name associated with it. In PHP, a function starts with the function keyword which is followed by the name of the function. In our case, we have taken the function name as getMax. Then, a function can take some data which is used to perform some tasks. This data is called function arguments. In our case, $A and $B are the function arguments. Also, note that a function can take any number of arguments. Once the tasks are performed, the function returns some value but can only return one value at a time. So let us summarize what a function is. It is a block of code that can be repeatedly used in a program to perform a specific task. Functions can take data to perform tasks and those data are called function arguments. Functions can take any number of arguments but can only return one value at a time. Now that we know what a function is, let us understand how we can define a function in PHP. As discussed earlier, to define a function, we first use the function keyword followed by the name of the function. Then, within the brackets, we specify function arguments. We can have as many function arguments as we want. All we have to do is separate these arguments using a comma. Like in this case, we have two function arguments separated by a comma. Then inside the curly braces, we have our main code. Based on the logic, we can put a return statement anywhere inside the main code block. It stops the function's code execution and returns the value that we specify. So, this was all about defining a function. Now, let us look at another important aspect of functions, that is, how they are executed. And for the same, we first need to understand the parts of function. Let us take the same code example with a slight modification. This is the first part called as function definition. In function definition, we define the function name, function arguments, and a block of code which defines the specific purpose. And the second part is function calling, which calls or invokes the function. This is the modification which we were earlier talking about. Function calling is the part when the function actually gets executed. So now as we are familiar with the parts of the function, let us see how it is executed. First, the line number 2 gets executed in which we have defined the function. Now the next line which is executed is the place where we have called the function. Can you guess the line number? It's 9. Easy, right? Once the function is executed, it again goes back to line 2 and initializes the arguments being passed. Now, the execution continues line by line till it encounters a return statement or the function ends. In our case, the value of variable a is 5 and the value of variable b is 10. So, the if condition is false and the else condition is true. This will return the value 10. Again, the code execution goes back to line number 9 and initializes $max with what the function returns, which is 10. Lastly, the code prints 10 and the program ends. We will continue our discussion on functions in the next video, so stay tuned.